And a very good evening to you, and welcome to today's edition of Politics 101. Of course, it's hindsight today. We get to chat a little bit about what's in the news and to take your calls on the issues of the day. Here's hoping you had a wonderful weekend. Get to relax. People obviously went to church, and um, those who aren't church people um, would have done some other things to relax because, of course, in this hard guava season, you need sometimes to relax um, and to face the new week. So, welcome to today's show, wherever you are in Guyana, um, whether you are in Essequibo. A shout out to the people of Dartmouth who buried their dead on Friday. I was able to view part of the proceedings on Village Voice. Um, they carried it live, and I was able to see some of the emotions there at that funeral. As you know, we take our dead very seriously, people, ancestral people. And when people die in the circumstances under which Mr. Boston died, it attracts attention and the emotions are out there raw. And so a special good evening to the people of Dartmouth, to the people of Essequibo Coast, the Essequibo Islands, whether you're in Demerara or in Berbice, welcome. Shout out to the people of Linden up there. And those of you who are in the hinterland, if you're able to get service there and you are on with us. Whether you are joining us from the Caribbean, North America, Europe, or wherever in the world, welcome. Yvonne, Gloria, Maud, Justin, Marlene, or Donette Booker, my girl from Buxton. Donette, welcome. You usually have running mates, when we're home, when I'm home, I have my crew that I hang out with in Buxton, and Donette is part of my crew. We all grew up together in Buxton, and getting on in age, and so we find time to spend time together, hang out together, laugh. Donette is a co-girl, and So Donette, welcome to this evening show, and love always. Doreen, Colette, Andrew, Marlin, Melinda, Leroy. I'm spotting you guys here, shouting out to all of you who are joining us for today's edition of Politics 101. I go back to that funeral where the people of Dartmouth, they're dressed in red and black and burying the dead. It was a very moving experience, as these occasions are. And we vow not to let up, not to allow our memories to go dull. We are tired. We're tired of burying our sons, and and there they go. There's the casket, and the men and women, young people. I like to see young people who come out to these things and to show the world that we care, because often people think we don't care, and sometimes we act as though we don't care. Um, uh, our people are killed and we go along with life and they take us for granted, you know. So it's good that people come out in the open space and express themselves as they did. Condolences again to the family and to the people of Dartmouth. We're not going to allow this murder to go because we want to use it as an example, to those who would like us to forget it. You know, they bank on us having short memories, short memories, short memories. And we have to make it very clear to them that our memories are not short, and that we want to speak up and let the world know what is happening in Guyana. My column this weekend continue to deal with issue, and this weekend I raised the cry of where are our brothers and sisters on the other side? Where are our East Indian elites, brothers and sisters? We're so outraged from them at this murder. And my piece are in Boston and the arrogance of power. Where are the Indian Guyanese voices? And I raised that question because I think it's a very relevant question, because these voices were out there last year standing up for this thing that they call democracy, but they're sitting down when a Black life is taken. That is why I said at some point Guyana has to come to grips with reality. Our country is at a very bad place. In fact, it has been at a very bad place for most, if not all, of its post-colonial experience. We have been unable to negotiate a peaceful coexistence based on agreed norms and premise on mutual respect for the right of all groups to equitably share our country's blessings. We have lurched from one crisis to another without much recognition that we are in a permanent state of crisis. All sides have been buried in their own view of reality, which are often colored by deep distrust of the other. While our politicians are often isolated as the culprits, the entire society is compromised. Even those who have managed to stake out a little independent space, they find it difficult to act independently in the face of a culture that is disrespectful to any viewpoint that does not validate one contending narrative or the other. Our elites either join or line up behind their respective tribe, or they cower in fear, or they bark only when their pet interest is threatened. We have become a nearsighted country that sees trees but have no idea what the forest looks like. You see, it's a kind of contrived dishonesty that Guyana has become accustomed to. It's a sad reality. So, in Boston is gone down by a police SWAT team in clear violation of the right to life. The assumption by the shooter about the value of Boston's life cannot be divorced from universal assumptions of Black lives. We have seen that script over and over again in Guyana and beyond. Yet Mr. Boston killing hardly gets onto the front pages of our daily newspapers. There are no searching editorials that explore the origins of this national malaise beyond the discussion of police reform. The columnists, often fulsome in their condemnation of national sins, and who are very quick to identify the acts of omission of others, They are silent. The silencing of their voices is tantamount to the silencing of the murderer by the state of a citizen who do not look like them. Let me pause here. People like Freddie Kissoon, who curses black people every day in his column, and who carries on, has not said a word about Boston murder until today or yesterday or whenever. And what he did, he curses out Takumo Ogunse for saying that Boston's murder was political. Doesn't condemn Boston murder. This is the sad reality of our Indian Guyanese brethren. Where are the voices of rage from the Indian Guyanese elites? Where is outrage from the PPP? Where is the outrage from Ravi Dev and others? And you know, Ravi Dev is an Indian brother. He's the Indianist ideologue, and I call him a friend. You know, we have our differences in terms of how we view politics from time to time, but one thing we agree on is that race is a prevalent issue in Guyana that needs to be addressed. And we have tried to talk over the years, some of us, you know, Ravi, Nigel Hughes, myself, Vincent Alexander, we've tried to talk across the divide. And when Ravi saw me calling him out, he wrote me to point me to his column in Guyana Times last week. And I did read his column. But, you know, it's a column is talking, you know, our brothers and sisters are talking about police reform. This is more than police reform. This is not a matter of police reform. I'm sure that if you reform the police, things are going to get a little bit better, but black people are still going to be killed by the police. This is about reforming Guyana. This is about reforming race relations. This is about how you use power. And so, you know, I had to call out my friend Rafi Dev, because I think he didn't say enough. And that is why I said, where is Ravi Dev? Where are the columns of outrage from the guardians of democracy, so-called guardians of democracy? Where is the outrage from the Guyana and Chamber of Commerce or the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce? Where is the outrage from the women and the organizations who rose to the defense of a female minister of government recently because somebody called her some name? And they all rose to her defense, but where are their voices on the murder of this young man? Where are the voices of the Christian, the Hindu, and the Muslim leaderships? Where are the voices of the Christian, Hindu, and Muslim leaderships? One side mourns while the other side is oblivious to the deeper meaning of the moment. So only black people understand how this moment is pregnant. Pregnant with a lot of history, pregnant with a lot of what is negative about our country. This murder asks the question, is it possible for us to continue to live together? The silence speaks volumes about our value system regarding public issues. What is most valuable? What is more valuable? Elections, of course, are valuable. Something called democracy, whatever that means, valuable. But the killing of a black man is not valuable. The value system, you see, our value system, how much value do we place on something? When does something rise to public outrage? that all of the country should shout about. Certainly not the killing of this black man or black men. That the execution of another brother by the state does not rise to cross ethnic, national importance beyond small talk about police reform is an indication of how uncomfortable a country Guyana is. It's an uncomfortable country. Certainly it is uncomfortable for us as black people. It's uncomfortable for Indians if it's uncomfortable for us. It's uncomfortable for Amerindians if it's uncomfortable for us. If it's uncomfortable for one group, it has to be uncomfortable for all groups. It's an uncomfortable country. A country that sits back, that when the murder happens on one side, the other side can't mourn because it's not politically correct. It's not politically correct. What kind of heartless society we have become? Or has the logic of partisan politics muzzled our collective humanity? We talk about, Martin Carter talk about the mouth is muzzled by the food it eats. Our collective humanity is muzzled. We have different notions of what humanity is. It seems. In a delicate multi-ethnic society like Guyana, we are consistently and constantly called upon to show love across the divide. Where is the love across the divide? Where is the love from our East Indian brothers and sisters? I'm sure that individual East Indians on the quarantine who came out and showed their solidarity. I'm sure there are some on this program who share the outrage. I'm sure there are pockets of our East Indian brothers and sisters who show outrage. Some of them are outraged but don't say anything. And if you are quiet, even though you're outraged by what has happened, you are still complicit. Because your outrage has to be open for it to mean something. If you're outraged in your privacy, it does not help Guyana. I had to make the point recently that when between 2000 and 2002 and 2006, and there was mayhem coming out of my village when they transplanted men in that village. And part of what they were doing were killing Indians because they were Indians. Myself and Brother Yussi Kwayana and Sister Andaye said, not in our name. We stood out, we stood up, and we said, this is wrong. We risk our lives to say to our people that you all are wrong. You cannot be killing people because of their race. We did that. Some in the Black community didn't like it. Some of them didn't talk to me for 4 years. And I used to joke about it. Because they felt that we were selling out, because we said it was wrong for Black people to kill Indian people because they're Indians. What was the moral thing to do? I think if my people are behaving badly and they're interfering with another race, I think the burden is more on me, on us, to stand up and say it's wrong. If there is extrajudicial killing of East Indian people by mainly Black policemen and women under a Black government, I will be sure to speak out against it. I am not asking Indian people to do what I have not done and what I have not said to Black people that we should do. Where are their voices? When Indian Guyanese and Amerindians and Chinese and Portuguese could mourn with African Guyanese, As they wail for justice for their sons, Guyana becomes more hopeful. When we all can mourn together and stand up for justice together, there is hope for Guyana. When we can't do that, hopelessness abounds. Our common outrage against human rights violations is a necessary mark of jointness that tells us something about our desire to live in harmony. But if we select our own meaning of human rights, as we often do in Guyana, we surrender to the magnet of them versus us. Where the Chinese and Portuguese and Amerindians and especially East Indian voices at this time, where is the outrage? It's not forthcoming. I salute those Indian Guyanese who let their voices be heard. I salute you. But I want to salute the group. It is my firm view that Guyana's 2020 election has left irreparable scars on our country's psyche. It was a moment of supreme challenge for a country of inevitable challenges. Our own failure to reach for a deeper solution that what appeared obvious was a mistake of great proportions. I still believe that if those elections were deemed to be inconclusive and we had put in place a joint government, Guyana would have been breathing better today. Or in Boston, most likely would not have been killed because our opposition side would have been in a government. The PPP would not have been in a government by itself. I know some black people don't like to hear about power sharing because they say, oh, you're going to share power with the PPP. You have to get beyond that shallowness. It's not about sharing power with the PPP. It's about demanding power for us. If people get all the power and they're killing you, and you are saying you want the power for yourself, so kill them back, how is that going to help? You want your share of the power to stop them from getting all of the power to kill your sons. You're going to stop getting it twisted. So if we had declared that election last year to be inconclusive, if the opposition parties had put their people on the streets during those 5 months and said, okay, we have the evidence here that you tampered. You said that you see me tampering, but you want the power. Although we got evidence that you tampering, you want the power. We put our people on the streets and say, we're not leaving here until you decide to share this cake. We didn't. The PPP got all the power today. Or in Boston, it's dead, killed, murder. We cannot see the linkages between what is happening today and what happened last year during those elections, during those 5 months. Because when good triumphs over evil, the beneficiaries of the good become custodians of God. That's how the PPP said last year, it was good versus evil. And if the PPP good triumphs over the rest of us evil, then they think they're the beneficiaries of the good and they become custodians of God. One man pulled the trigger of the gun that released the bullet which killed Orrin Boston. But the arrogance of power and the paralysis of a nation are the culprits. That's where we are. That's where we are. We've got to recognize when we are at terrible moments, and we are at a terrible moment. We're at a terrible moment. I am not about black supremacy, because black supremacy would not be any different from Indian supremacy or white supremacy or brown supremacy. What I'm for is the black dignity. And when you kill our people, you challenge our dignity and challenge the dignity of all Guyanese, because we are Guyanese too. We are Guyanese too. The paralysis of the nation last year has paralyzed the Guyana, because our people cannot together flourish. The best out of us cannot emerge. And what we are fighting for is for the best of Guyana, the best of Indians, the best of Africans, the best of Amerindians and Chinese and Portuguese. The best. That's what we want to come to the fore. Yes, we are African Guyanese, but our gaze must also be on Guyana. Without surrendering our African Guyanese identity, we must fight for Guyana. And in fighting for Guyana, it means that we have to isolate those who would want to eliminate us. Our sisters and brothers on the other side, our East Indian brothers and sisters, have to begin to see the light. You can't sit down and watch your brothers and sisters on the other side be slaughtered. If Africans had not dismantled the slave plantations, our East Indian and Portuguese and Chinese brethren and sisterin could not have come to these shores as free people. They came as free people because we made freedom possible. This is not boasting. This is not saying that we are better. This is our history. Our history evolved. Last night I searched and went back to listen to a calypso by the Mystic Prowler. I think he sang it in 1999. He won the crown in 1998 and defended his crown. Said, Mr. Indian, you must say thanks to the African. And I went back and I listened to that calypso 2 or 3 times. Mr. Indian, you have to say thanks to the Africans. We have to say thanks to each other. And if you say thanks, it means that you're developing love, you're developing respect. You can't see the Africans as dogs and monkeys and want to poison them. You have to say thanks. Because of their struggles, you came here as free men and women. And when they bleed, even if you don't want to bleed with them, understand. Understand. Oh, a nation that is paralyzed by its own inability to come to grips with its reality. That's where we are. That's where we are today. And we are not going to allow this Boston thing to go. We cannot allow it to be silenced. Imagine that man who's the president of Guyana going abroad and saying that extrajudicial killing did not occur between 1992 and 2015. You hear a lie? That is lie. Teacher Percy say, if you lie, you go into hell as soon as you die. Tomorrow night, I'm going to have Aubrey Norton on to suss that out. Lord Nelson, King Liar. He wrote that calypso when I was a boy, but he wrote it for Irfan Ali. King Liar. He don't know anything about extrajudicial killing in Guyana. That is what paralyzes this nation. The inability of a man who is supposed to be the president of all of Guyana, denying the murder of black men. Why can't he say there were extrajudicial killings? We are sorry. We want to turn a new page. If he says that, he changes the political equation in Guyana. He forces people like me to recognize that repentance is at hand. He puts the burden on people like us to respond to that. But the man cannot bring himself to even say that. How can you want to be the president of all of Guyana? You're unfit for office. He is unfit for office. He's a liar. Forget about all the unnamed people. Ronald Wadley was not an extrajudicial killing. Shaka Blair wasn't. Crummy Wing wasn't. We're not even talking about all the unnamed ones that they and their henchmen. Why were two ministers of government caught up with big equipment? What were they doing with that equipment? And you don't know of any extrajudicial killing. You hear lie? That is lie. That is lie. King Liar. I'm going to have Aubrey Norton on tomorrow night to talk about this. To talk about this. Politicians lie. But to be such a barefaced liar, say something about the depth to which we have plunged as a nation. This is not an ordinary brother from Bath Settlement or Port Morant who's chatting that. I'm likely to give that brother a pass. This is Irfan Ali. This is the president of the country. This is a man who was taking the oath to be the president of all of Guyana and is lying. And in the process of lying, he's validating that which he's saying does not exist. This is serious times. Serious times. We're going to take a short break. And then when we come back, we're going to continue our chat. No justice, no surrender. They say no justice, no peace. We know that. No justice, no surrender. We're not surrendering. Not an inch. Not an inch until there's justice, until there is justice for the brothers and sisters who were killed, who have been killed by the state. No surrender, no peace, until there's economic justice in Guyana. Economic justice in Guyana. Until there's equality of opportunity. The Black man and the Amerindian man and the East Indian woman and Portuguese woman all have an equal chance, an equal opportunity to become rich. We often talk about equality of outcome. Well, equality of outcome is dependent on equality of opportunities. A Black businessman making $1, and you think that he hoarding contraband or drugs or whatever they think he was hoarding. The assumptions you all make of black people, the assumptions they make of black people, and some of us make of ourselves. That a black man who handling some money, he got to be a scamp. And it's the assumption that Orrin Boston was a scamp just because he was making a few dollars with a business in that mode. That's what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about. That's why he was killed. The assumptions, not just what his neighbor made about him. The assumptions of the state, the assumptions of the government, that a black man who through thick and thin, making a dollar, he could not be making it legitimately. You kick his door and go kill him in front of his wife and everything. We want you all to understand what happened there. We are not supposed to make money. So, political justice for Boston is wrapped up in economic justice. We can't make money honestly. The assumption is that we cannot make money honestly. We are doomed to be poor. That is what killed that brother. And that man went to America, wherever he went, and say that he don't know nothing about extrajudicial killing in front of his face. I'm take a short break. And when I'm come back, we're gonna continue to rap. My brother Black Stalin said, you got to rap to your people and tell them there's one race that come from the same place on the same ship. That's the Caribbean man. And that must be our vow for we women and we children. 1979, The Crown by Leroy Callis, the Caribbean man. The Caribbean man come from the same place on the same ship. We must have one common intention for we women and we children, or else we dead. The same Black Stalin said, black man don't get nothing easy. So when a black man get a little something, he must hold on to it. He must hold on to it. Short break, and then I'll be back.
Please help keep Politics 101 on social media and broadcast television. If you are in North America, please donate via Cash App or PayPal.
If you are in Guyana and the Caribbean and don't have access to Cash App and PayPal, email your pledge to dhinds6106@aol.com and we will direct you how to get your donation to us. Thank you in advance for your donation.
Welcome back to Politics 101. We got a lot of work to do. Those of you who have been following the international news would see once again what the world is doing to Haiti, doing to Haitians. Those thousands of Haitians who there in Texas and under that bridge. And those men on horsebacks like on the days of the slave plantation. Look at what they did to those people. Look at what they did to those people. Haiti, 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 Haiti. We're sorry. Look at what they did to Haitians in Guyana. Look at what they've done to Haitians in the wider Caribbean. So now we can't talk about what these people are doing to Haitians there in Texas. We are muzzled. Those people flee 10 years ago. When that earthquake happened, they went to Central American countries. And now they're trying to get into America. You put them, you're on horseback, beating them. Those of you who know about John Lewis and others trying to march across that bridge from Selma to Montgomery and saw the same thing. Those men on horseback beating people, beating John Lewis. His speech was impaired for the rest of his life. He almost lost his life. There we see them beating the same America, which goes around the world and preaches about democracy. Beating Black people in 2021, the president had to raise his voice. The value of Black life. The value, it's on the screen there, look. They call them cowboys. Well, cowboys are supposed to be doing that to cows, not to people, not to human beings. Look at those images. And when you're done doing that, you put them on a plane and send them back to Haiti, send them back to a country where, because of your policies that go back a century and more, the average Asian worker worked for $2 a day. Economic poverty is rife, and that's what you're sending them back to and calling yourself a democracy. Thank God Joe Biden spoke out. But this is happening not because of Joe Biden, in spite of Joe Biden, in spite of the Democrats. What have these people done? Are they not human beings? In our country, Guyana, they didn't go on horses, but what they did was as brutal as what they're doing to those people under that bridge. And this has a history. It goes back to the 1990s when Cubans and Haitians would get on boats and try to come to Miami. And they would turn back the Haitians, put them back on those little rafts and send them back. Many of them died coming, many of them died going back, but they were taking Cubans for racial reasons and for ideological reasons. The Guyana government did the same thing. They don't send back Cubans and Colombians and Brazilians, they send back Haitians. They're consistent with what we are seeing there on the screen. We have to be outraged. And then they're asking us why Black people are angry, why Black people are always angry. History repeats itself. Brother Bob said, no chains around my feet, but still I'm not free. Still I'm not free. That's not freedom. As I said, sometimes we in Guyana, we become caught up with our own woes and our own contradictions, and we don't see what's happening across the world. And if we see, we don't try to tie it into what's happening to us. If we do not fight in Guyana, fight hard in Guyana to beat back this PPP regime, that could happen to us. Under the bridge, we may not be physically under the bridge. It is why we have to fight and fight and fight so that this does not happen to us. The value of Black life, the devaluation, the undervaluing of Black lives. America. Dr. King said, America, be true to what you've put on paper. The 14th Amendment of the American Constitution proclaims equality before the law and due process. America, be true to what you've put on paper. Guyana, be true to what you've put on paper. This is the dark time, my love. All round the land, brown beetles crawl about. The shining sun is hidden in the sky. Red flowers bend their heads in awful sorrow. Our own Martin Carter. This is the dark time, my love. It's the season of oppression. It's the festival of guns. The carnival of misery. Carnival of misery. The festival of guns. Our own poet, Martin Carter, wrote those words in 1953. Who comes walking in the dark night time, whose boot of steel tramps down the slender grass? It's the man of death, my love. The strange invader watching you sleep and aiming at your dream. It's why we have to keep fighting. We have to keep fighting to keep the horses away from trampling on our people. We have to keep fighting so that we push back against the trigger-happy police who were socialized to devalue Black lives. We have to struggle so that we can deal with the contradiction of Black men in the police force slaughtering their brothers. We've got work on our hands. We've got to start socialize those little boys and little girls who are 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, because they are the future policemen. And we have to start working on them now so that they don't go and when they become 18 and 19 and 20 and kill, or in Boston, a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth time. My Black people, we got work to do. We got work to do among ourselves. What can I do? You ask all the time. How can I help? We got to socialize a new generation of Black people. The police force depends for its raw material from the Black community. That's where it recruits. That is not going to change tomorrow. What can change is the kind of Black boy, little Black girl we produce. We got to return to the cultural revolution of the 1960s, the Black Power revolution of the 1960s and 70s, the Black awakening in Guyana, the Caribbean, United States, and the rest of the diaspora. We need such an awakening. They say, Hinds, you talk about race all the time. I talk about race all the time. because I don't want my people, I don't want my people to be contrary. That's what Brother Bob sang in Zimbabwe. Soon we'll find out who's the real revolutionary, because I don't want my people to be tricked by mercenaries, to be tricked by mercenaries. Bob Marley sang that. He wrote that for Zimbabwe's independence in 1980. Zimbabwe. And that's why I keep talking about our history, about our present, explaining it, calling you to action. We got serious work to do. And as I started tonight by saying, all of Guyana got that work to do. Our East Indian brothers and sisters got work to do. We put political expediency over humanity. And while it may sound good and logical while it's happening, it has consequences. I think our East Indian brothers and sisters put political expediency over the safety of our country last year. And as a result, our country has been paralyzed, the paralysis of a nation. Decisions have consequences. Decisions have consequences. Mr. Virgil, I didn't forget, you know. I didn't forget. Good evening, Marlo, Tasha, Brian, Denise, my sister, Denise Booker. My sister, Denise Booker, who served as a police. She knows what I'm talking about. When she joined that police force, she had a grounding in Buxton. So when she joined the police force, she joined the police force with a clear mind and a clean heart. That is why she was never accused of brutalizing anybody. We have to go back to producing more Denises. Can't wait until they get into the police force. You see, my sister and the generation of young men and young women who went in, they grew up with the consciousness, the drums, the poetry. The black is beautiful. And so when they were ready to go into the police force, they went in there as conscious brothers and sisters. We have dropped the ball. Every now and again, or ever so often, you all hear me quoting some poet or some reggae singer or some calypsonian or a politician or the ordinary people or a scholar. I'm not doing it to show how much I know. I'm doing it so that you out there in the audience can understand that there is a body of work that we have produced that we must use to give ourselves the consciousness. Our people have not been idle these last 400 years. We have produced thought. Some of us were lucky that we had the privilege to read some of those books and to study them. And my brother A.U.C. Quine says, we must take the people's experiences, take their poetry, take their calypso, take their reggae song, take their kwekwe, take them, refine them, and give them back to the people, as I'm doing here, as political and cultural nourishment. I just today finished teaching a class of 150. The class is called Bob Marley, Reggae and Resistance. I use Bob Marley's songs as texts to teach little white boys and white girls, Asian boys and Asian girls, little Latino boys and girls and black boys and girls, using Bob Marley to teach them about humanity and what the Caribbean has given to world civilization. Let the words of our mouth and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in thy sight here tonight. We are not slaves. We were never slaves. We were enslaved. We were never slaves. We were never indentured laborers. We weren't born in those conditions. Those conditions were imposed on us. We have souls. Brother Bob saying every man's chest, there beats a heart. In every man's chest, there beats a heart. Equal humanity is talking about. Equal humanity. In every man's chest, there beats a heart. No justice, no surrender. Ever so often, we stop remembering. Ever so often, we weep and then we dry our tears and forget. Ever so often, we are quick to forgive. Forgiveness is a virtue, but it cannot be a substitute for struggle. It must arise out of struggle. Nelson Mandela was able to forgive the whites in South Africa. But he did so in victory. Victory over apartheid. He did so from a position of strength. When he came to America, and Ted Koppel, then the doyen of white journalism, tried to tell Nelson Mandela to condemn Fidel Castro and Muammar Gaddafi and Yasser Arafat. And Mandela sat up like the African king he was. And he said, Mr. Koppel, you do not tell me who my friends must be. When I was suffering, it is those men who helped me. I remember I was in college at that time, University of the District of Columbia. We went on campus the next day. It was a predominantly black university in Washington, D.C. And nobody said anything. We just looked at one another as students. And we knew something happened last night. A black man talking back and say, you do not tell me who my friend should be, Mr. Koppel. The mighty Sparrow, the greatest Calypsonian that ever lived, turned that interview into a calypso. There you have it on the screen there, Ted Koppel. It was a memorable night. These are histories we must remember. Mandela was able to forgive, but he did so after overcoming 27 years in the dungeons and coming out as president of South Africa. the white man in South Africa being forced to recognize black equality. And then Mandela said, I reserve 15% of the government for you all. And he named Frederick de Klerk as a vice president. There's Ted Koppel. The program was called Nightline 31 years ago. As they would say in the village, are we not 3 cents people? Are we not 3 cents people, but we must live up to it. We must live up to it. We must live up to it. I'm not saying that black people don't have faults. We have our own faults. We have plenty faults. But those faults do not justify anyone treating us less than human beings. All ethnic groups have their faults. All ethnic groups have their faults. Tomorrow night, Aubrey Norton vying for the leadership of the People's National Congress. A lot of people say that's the man with the plan for the future. He's going to be on with me tomorrow night. I'm going to have the young man from Essequibo, Sherwin. He's going to pop in and give us an update on what's happening there on the Essequibo coast. And then Aubrey and I will chat about that liar, that king liar. Teacher Percy say, if you tell a lie, you're going to hell as soon as you die. Lord Nelson write the song for her finale. The man lie bad. The man is a bare-faced liar. He's a little boy for Jack Dio. And we know that Jack Dio is a lie man. But our fun, like he learned good. And we must not allow them to go away, because their lies could become the truth if we don't challenge those lies. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to open the phones. Please put up the phone line so that people can see, and you will get a chance to call in and talk your side of the story. You'll get a chance to ask me questions, but that is neither here nor there. I want you to call in, and I want you to ask questions and say what's on your mind. We're going to try to get as much in as we can. Short break, and then I'll be back. I'm David Hinds, political activist and commentator. If you're looking for informed discussion on Guyanese politics, you must join me every Tuesday and Thursday evening at 6:30 on Politics 101 with Dr. David Hinds. On that program, I interview policymakers, politicians, political activists on Guyanese politics in the past and the present. So make sure you tune in to Politics 101 on CAMS TV at 6:30 every Tuesday and Thursday. And on Mondays at 7 o'clock in the evening, 7 p.m., you can join me for Hindsight. On that program, I give my take on politics. And then you can call in and talk to me about the politics in Guyana, the Caribbean, and the rest of the world. That's Monday evenings at 7 o'clock. And so here we go. Monday, 7 o'clock, you can join me. On Tuesday at 6:30, Politics 101. On Thursdays at 6:30, Politics 101. And if you haven't gotten enough of me by then, you can catch me on Tuesday mornings on the Buxtonian Morning Time with Kadaki Amsterdam, where we rap about politics also. And that's at 7 o'clock in the morning on CAMS TV. All of these programs are on CAMS TV. So catch me Monday, on Tuesday, on Thursday, and you get all you want to know about Chinese politics. And here we are on a Tuesday evening, wrapping. 592-604-9722 is the number.
We have a caller.
604. We have a caller. Come through.
Yeah, good night, Dr. Hinds, and good night to the moderator. Now I'd like to say something. I listen about all that you said. Now my question to you is that the same day when they were burying Boston, who was murdered by the regime, and Lyard in front was there saying he never know about extrajudicial killings, and that was a thing of the past. And the thing of the past was now that same time he was in America trying to talk about black people and talking about the money that the slaves are entitled to. I would like to know if there is a way by which we, the black people, could have this thing like not going into the hands of the PPPC, because anytime that money it goes into the hands of the PPP, what happened with the COVID-19 grants and the cash grant for the floods, it will be worse than that. We came in the bellies of the ships as slaves. We left worse. Now some of us, we were taken forcibly from our mother country, Africa. And you know, not all people who came from Africa were like the low-down people or so. We were princes and queens and them type of people, high rank, royalty, and we came here. Anyhow, we stayed and we worked. We were beaten and all kind of thing. The other set of people who came to Guyana, the Indians and the Portuguese and the Chinese, they came as indentured laborers. They were being paid a salary. They were being paid. They were given the option to return back to the country. But them, unlike us, they were those from the slums and so forth. So when they came here and they saw what was going on according to them in the New World, they refused to return back to the slums from whence they came. Remember, they had money. Now with PPP, should they be given this money? The smallest one of them, you don't like I call them the C word, you just get vexed. The smallest one of them will be driving Porsche and Lamborghinis from our money. So I hope there could be a forum in which we could put our signatures against the PPP uplifting that money. Now look how far they've gone. All other thing, Graham just spoke, President Graham just spoke about the decade for African people. We can't allow the PPP to collect that money. And I pray that we could come up with something, even if it's signatures or so, and send it up to America. But in the same space, President Biden said some things, and they are so dense, but I hope somebody could explain it to them, what he said. Because he says he's not standing for people to be treated inhumanely. And he stands on the side of them who are treating people inhumanely. He even made note that this is the first time in 20 years America is not at war. He made certain he took away soldiers so they could fight by themselves, but America isn't involved in a war. So I hope everybody saying the thing, the people who are coming out started to come out. When they come out and they hold up Gaddafi, Nobody ain't come out back. When they did Gavin, nobody. Then when Mr. Norton and his team was thrown into the lockup, dog fade away. So people now, they don't want to come out because they're frightened that they will end up in prison. And you don't know when they're going to stop putting you in prison alone, and they're going to start killing you on the front line. So people are fearful to come out and protest. I would go and protest. But when I see what's going on, I am fearful. And we got to study ways and means that we could let our points be heard. So I hope that you could, I know you know things, you could find a way forward for us with this money, because I don't think it is wise for the PPP to put their hands on our money. They don't like black people. They don't like us. Those black people who they got in the party is just like a rubber stamp that black people will say, oh, I could go and be the prime minister. Oh, I could go and be this. But if you look at the black figureheads in the PPP party, they have no place where they could exert the power or show off their skills. That is my talk tonight. Until tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Yes. Thank you very much, sister, for that question, because it's a very important question. Whether money coming from reparations, how it should be handled. And that's a dilemma of a multi-ethnic society. I mean, only black people, as far as I'm concerned, should be able to say what those monies and how they should be spent and so forth. And we had that problem when they were building the monument to the 1823 martyrs. And we, at that time, wanted the monument to go at Parade Ground, because it was at Parade Ground that they hung the heads of those people who they slaughtered after that rebellion. And we felt that that was a fitting place. The PPP never talked with us. They're going to build it at the seawall. And so therefore, you're raising a very important point, because we were making a moral point. You are a government, but this is something that is black people business. Let black people decide where they want the monument to go. And they didn't listen to us. They went and put it to the seawall, so we know. If they get any reparations money, they won't ask us how to spend it. And that is why we've got to get back in power. We've got to get our hands in political power, because the PPP is not about to change. It's either we win with a big majority, or small majority or small minority, we have to have power. That is the only way they're going to be able to deal with money that come into this country. But you raise a very important point. Albert Morgan, Mr. Morgan, good night. Rita, good night. Sandra, Victor, Leston, K, very good comments I'm seeing here. Karen, good night. I'm following the comments as much as I can. Those of you who can come through, please call us. 604-9722. 604-9722. Yes, we do have a lot of work to do, and thank God and thank our people who've contributed to creating the technology so that we can sit and chat as we are, as we're doing here tonight. The sister said just now that we came bound and we were in bondage, but we came from highly developed societies. Highly developed societies, you know, the most people used to say Congo a high nation, Congo a high nation. You have a caller, come through, caller.
We have a caller. Mute the device, caller, and go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Turn off your device. You're getting a feedback there.
You're getting a feedback?
Yeah, you're hearing me. Turn off your phone or wherever you're listening on.
Right now?
All right, good. You're good now.
am I on to Mr. Hinds?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, no, when the president become the leader of this country, when he were being swearing and so on, his mother and father said he's going to be a good president. So when I heard that on the television, I said, let's see. And you know, it turned out, you see how it turns out now? Even when Barrett Jackie was being sworn in as president, they said the young man, give the man a chance and all kind of stuff. But okay. And that is what we experienced, the killing of the black people. Killings of the black people. Now, Infant Ali is go to the international forum and lie that there wasn't no judicial killing, extrajudicial killing in this country. And his mother father said he's going to be a president, a good president. He's not a good president. He's not setting the stage for others to follow. Infant Ali lied to this nation. Internationally, he lied to this nation. And as I see it, that he is totally not good for this country, and he should never ever be the president, and we should continue to protect him and fight this bug that is busy biting us. We have to fight this bug. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, brother. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You see, look, I don't know Irfan Ali. I don't know him personally. I don't think I ever met him in person. And I have no doubt that these men and women are good human beings. I have no doubt. But good human beings don't necessarily mean that they will be good leaders. Because you have to, what is their worldview? What is their ideology? What is their worldview? What is their ideology? If you start with an ideology that says that all people came to this country looking for betterment, that's what the man said. And if he says that it comes from a particular place, it comes from a place, first of all, of ignorance, but it comes from a place in which the man does not recognize the significance and the profundity of slavery and its impact on the history of Guyana. And so if you start off that black people got no narrative of suffering, then you accept the notion that they're inferior. And that's what I'm saying. The words betray an ideology. An ideology. And so they may be good men. Orphan may be a good man. As like I said, I don't know him. I hear people know him say he's a nice chap. But that does not mean that he's a good political leader and a good president. Because it is his ideology that betrays that he's a good leader or a good president.
We have a caller.
Yes, caller, go ahead.
Yes, Dr. Hinds. I would like to think that we are not respected around the world as Africans. And it seems like we are the original man, but yet still the other races do not know that. We can go to England, we can go to India, we can go anywhere. And we are not respected around the world. Look how blacks or Africans are treated in India. But when Indians go to the continent, they're treated well. So again, we are not respected around the world. Like the song, do you remember the days of slavery? I think was born in Spanish. Of how they treated us worse than animals. And yet still we have compassion for them. And we have continued along the compassionate road for all after the 400 years. And we have not, in my opinion, started over there. So at one point, we did differently because we cannot keep doing the same thing and expect a different results. So we know Indians, I would think 90% do not like Africans. but yet still we treat them with respect. So when we're in a position of strength, we let them get away with a lot of murderous things, and we do not reply back in kind. So again, until we get some sense, we'll be sentenced. And that's my take, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. You know, in all of this, look, I in all of my political activism that goes back, more than 4 decades, I have interacted with Indian Guyanese, and I've seen the best of Indian Guyanese brethren whenever we were able to link up in struggle and have a common objective. And I still believe that our Indian Guyanese brothers and sisters collectively do not hate Africans. Yes, we have our differences as a race. Yes, we have bad habits on both sides of the ethnic divide. Yes, we have been mean to each other from time to time. But I want to believe, and Gary, you're taking me to task, Gary, for saying that Irfan Ali may be a good human being. And if the man is a good human being, he's a good human being. I don't think we should get to the point to believe that East Indians are not good human beings. They're good human beings, even the ones who are, reigning terror there at the top, But ideology is a hell of a thing. Ideology is a hell of a thing. It is the ideology that turns a good human being into a monster. You see, I believe, and I would like to say to our people, you start off from the premise that all human beings are good. They could turn bad over a period of time, but you start from the premise that all human beings, regardless of ethnicity and race, are good. That's where we start.
We have a caller.
Yes, caller.
Good night, Mr. Hinds.
Good night.
Listeners and everybody out there. I have one question I would like to ask you. My question is, can the coalition win government once again?
Yes, I think they can, but they will have to undergo a lot of change. It can't be the same coalition that governs. It has to be a new thinking. It has to have new leadership. It has to understand the strengths and the weaknesses in our community. It has to understand the emotions of our community. You see, ideas are very important. Very important. And I think the coalition, despite the fact that blacks may be an electoral minority, we could win people over to our ideas. And we did it in 2011 and 2015. The idea of jointness, the idea of sharing power. We were able to bring East Indians, bring Amerindians together with blacks and win. It's the power of ideas. And I think we dropped the ball once we got power. But I think if we engage in sober reflection and we rebuild a coalition based on ideas, rationality, and a vision for the rest of the country, for all of Guyana, we could win again. The PPP is going to be the PPP. And the future of Guyana has to be coalition, joining hands and hearts. The PPP is against that. And so they're against the tide. They're swimming against the tide. But I think the notion of coalition is that we are swimming with the tide. But we've got to recognize where we went wrong and rebuild the coalition. And I think we can win again. And that question is a very important question, because we have to be strategic. The world is moving now towards coalition. Guyana cannot belong to any one race. Guyana cannot belong to any one party. And we in the coalition showed what coming together could do. We showed it. We made our mistakes. The coalition is now fractured. Those who are running for the leadership of the PNC have vowed that they will rebuild the coalition and bring us back together. And I think if we do so under new ideas and new thinking, and if we think about our people, if we think about how to balance our fidelity to our base, while at the same time governing for all of Guyana, we can win again. The PPP is never going to be able to bring together a coalition. They're too single-minded. But I think, you know, the leadership on our side certainly are more positive and forward-thinking. And it's just about putting that into practice when we get into government. Learn from our mistakes, and I think we can win again. We're now almost program time. If there is anyone with a burning call, question, or comment, we'll take it. Tomorrow night, I will have Aubrey Norton on and Sherwin Older, and we'll be talking about Mr. Orfanali's lies. And tomorrow morning I'll be on Cans TV with my brother and comrade and friend, Kedaki Amsterdam, who is doing a hell of a job in the mornings, waking you all up and engaging in talking the thing. And he prepares the wicket for those of us who come later on in the evening. 1-1 Dotty Bill Dam. And certainly, Kedaki is really on the ball in the mornings. And we have to salute him and encourage him. You know, he's a leader of the present and the future. And we have to see him in that light. And I'm always happy on Tuesday mornings to talk with him. I've known him since he was a little boy. And I've seen him grow politically and intellectually. And I think he is certainly worth every bit of the support he's getting. We belong to the same party. We work closely together. And I'm very glad to see that he has built up that morning pipeline through which he filters through ideas and perspectives, and you are able to filter through ideas and perspectives, because we got to keep this struggle going.
We have a caller.
Okay, let's go.
Hello.
Yes, good evening.
Hello, Mr. Hinds. Good night.
Hi, good night. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing fine. I recognize the voice, so go ahead.
You know, okay. As you were saying earlier, between the two ethnic parties, the two main races in our country, as you were saying that they have issues with people. Okay, the black people is the one who is going to be facing all the tribulation, because since before slavery was abolished, they were going through the worst of it all. And I don't think the government have any interest in changing their ways on how they see black people. They will always be the same. They will always think the same way, and they will always put black people down beneath their foot because they are afraid of black people. As I had mentioned this earlier in the other talk show that you were on. Anyways, as for the guy that they killed, the police killed, he is black, yeah. The point that I want to make is Jack Dale and PPP don't want to see the black people rise. They feel that if a black person or a black man, I don't know to say, could have a business and doing well for himself, that's not normal for them. They are used to saying that black people are only robbery and criminal and thieves and fighting and all these kind of other things. That's what they see black people as. And they will always ridicule and condone racism between the two parties because they want to divide the race. Okay. As Mr. Granger always was fighting for one thing, is to have peace between our people. We should live as one. And then Jack Lewin and the entire cabinet, the PPP cabinet, would go on social media and lie about everything that they say. Everything that they say is completely a blatant lie. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, these people have the gall to look at other people and say, well, okay, Granger and his political party is racist. When this man was standing up for our country and standing up for our people and fighting for our people to become one. You understand what I'm saying? And then the other thing with Granger is such a good gentleman. He always fights for what is right. You know that none of them could have gone to Venezuela and make a decision, a stern decision about the borderline or whatever, because he know what he's doing, and the PPP cannot run this country. They're gonna take it down to the ground, and they're gonna make it become the very poorest country in the entire world because they don't know what they're doing. They cannot calculate borderline, that's one. They don't know where our borderline is, where it begins and where it ends. So they have no idea what they're doing. What they're doing right now is just looking to ridicule Mr. Granger and the black people. The black people must never be progressive at any time for these people. These people always look at black people as the lowest form of human being. Okay? And I'm fed up of these people. They're really ridiculous. Really, really ridiculous. I can't stand them anymore.
Yes,
Because
that is why we have to fight. That is why we have to fight.
The way that they is treated the black people that is in his cabinet, you don't see them. They are behind the shadow. You see them knowing they are employed as a prime minister, whatever, but you don't think. When was the last time I saw the prime minister? I don't think I ever seen him anywhere on any political, I don't even know what the man looked like because I've never seen the prime minister make a speech of anything. Because when Sam Hinds was prime minister, I would always see him on television or in the newspaper. He made some effort into something.
As though we have lost our caller there. Thank you so very much for your contribution as always. I was smiling just now because Karen said that we need to call the president for some spelling and pronunciation lessons. And I always say we Guyanese, we're very, very, very sophisticated when it comes to our politics. I know that sometimes, it rubs us the wrong way. A nation that had impeccable speakers like, Fobbs Burnham and Sridhar Ramphal and Walter Rodney and Rupert Rupnarayan and UC Kwayana, men, there's a good diction and so forth. I know when you're weaned and you come up you know, with such eloquence. And now you see our leaders, you hear them, you dong your head. So Karen, I understand. I really understand. I really understand. And I, you know, I mean, I'm not I'm I'm not a language bigot and so on, you know, but it rubs me the wrong way sometimes, like I said, you know, I mean, God, you know, when we accustomed to speakers when they speak right out of their hand and so on, you know. Men and women of eloquence, you listen to, you know, Mansa Desir and some of these younger women and men and Ganesh Maipal and them, you know, how eloquent they are. And then you listen to our president. But what will people say? Are we there Panam? Are we there Panam? And if are we there Panam, are we gonna struggle? Are we gonna struggle for push them back? Are we gonna struggle for push them back? So here's thanking you all for staying with me tonight. In the morning, I'm gonna be with Kedaki, and then tomorrow night, I'm gonna be asking questions. Aubrey Norton is on tomorrow night. We're gonna be talking about King Lear and some other issues. And Sherwin Holder will join us to give us a report on what's happening with the Boston murder and what's happening on the Essequibo Coast. Thank you all again for coming on, and I'll see you all in the new day, a new day and a new struggle, or a continuation of the struggle. Good night. And remember, we are here for you because you are there for us. If there is you, there is me. And there is no you without me. Love you all, love you all, love you all. Seriously. Good night.
Please help keep Politics 101 on social media and broadcast television. If you are in North America, please donate via Cash App or PayPal.
If you are in Guyana and the Caribbean and don't have access to Cash App and PayPal, email your pledge to dhinds6106@aol.com and we will direct you how to get your donation to us. Thank you in advance for your donation.